back to a chapter day. Happy Tuesday. It's getting late in the evening and it's cold. And well, as the night is falling, it's night, but it's only close to 4 p.m. But it's getting dark much earlier. I am going to be reading chapter 10 of 1kings. Yesterday, Solomon was kind of going over, let's see. The Lord appeared to him again. Remember, God had appeared to him the first time when he asked for wisdom. Now that he's finished building the temple and his house, God gave him stipulations. If you walk in my way, do my will, I will continue to bless you and establish your throne forever. That's the stipulation. And he gave cities to the king Hiram, who really didn't like the cities, it says, and Hiram sent him a whole bunch of gold. Solomon also established navies. He had a navy that brought goods back and forth. Let's see what else there was. The king Pharaoh eradicated the Canaanites and gave the city to Solomon. Well, he gave it to his daughter, but being married back then, it belonged to the male. So it went over to Solomon. And he made all the servants of all the people of those cities that were not conquered servants to him. The Amorites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, etc. Anyone who was not a child of Israel, they became his servant. He put taxes on the people so that he could pay for all of this materials that he had. That's why we pay taxes, because we have to maintain what we have. The things, the infrastructure of the country, and etc., etc. So nothing new under the sun. His wife, Pharaoh's daughter, came up out of the city of David, where she was dwelling until her house was built. Now her house is built. She's moving into it. And we are going to move on as to what next was happening with Solomon. Chapter 10. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. So the queen of Sheba, they always say that was someone from Africa. I'm not quite sure. But Sheba was the name of a place. Excuse me. And she came to really see if what she was hearing was true. I don't know how far off she came from, but she heard of Solomon, his wisdom, his riches. When people hear about your good fortune, they want to see for themselves, is this really true? And they go to visit. And she was a queen, so she was welcomed by Solomon. Verse 6. And she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store. And precious stones, there came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. So she was just awed and amazed by what she heard. She said it wasn't even close comparing what I've seen and heard from you. Your servants even are dressed well. You know, that will tell you the mark of a true wealthy person. If you go to their home and their servants look, like servants, then yeah, they ain't really got it going on. But if their servants look like, yeah, they're more the people who live there, then they have riches. And the queen herself brought Solomon gold, riches, spices. Spices were the things back then. They were as expensive or how should I say, as worthy as gold. So she has heard, and what she's seen even surpasses what she heard. Verse 11, and the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord and for the king's house, harps also and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor was seen unto this day. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. Beside that he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of the spice merchants and of all the kings of Arabia and of the governors of the country. Oh my gosh, you know what? When you blessed, it ought to show. That's why I'm saying, if you're blessed and you want to walk around feeling like you're so humble, I don't want anybody to know that, I have, and not that you're going out there and sticking it in anybody's face, but you live your life. You be blessed. If you're blessed, be blessed. You don't have to brag to be blessed. Nobody even has to know, but they will see something in you. Like she heard first of all, and she came and she saw. And that's what we need to be, a testimony. If we are serving God and we are for God, God will bless us and it will show. It will be our living testimony. No bragging. Okay. So people from all over, from Arabia, he's getting in. I can't even continue to tell you how much riches Solomon had, because I don't even know the full of it either. Verse 16, and King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. And he made 300 shekels of and he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind. And there were stays on either side on the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays. And 12 lions stood there on one side and on the other upon the 6 steps. There was not the like made in any kingdom. Now, I don't think these are real lions, but these are engravings or statue things that they made to line the throne of Solomon. It's ivory. Ivory is already a difficult type of material. It comes from the tusk of elephants, if I know. That's the only place I know. And they made an entire throne with ivory and overlaid it with gold. So you know the type of materials that are coming into Solomon. That palace, the throne by itself must have been so magnificent. Verse 21, and all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. So they're saying, you know what? Silver was not even considered. Everything was gold. My goodness. Verse 22. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. As I said, we don't know what wealth is, not in our days. Verse 23. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. And they brought every man his presents, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. Oh my goodness. Just ponder that. Verse 26. And Solomon gathered together chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he bestowed in the cities for chariots, and with the king at Jerusalem. And the king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones, and cedars made he to be as the sycamore trees that are in the vale for abundance. The stones of Jerusalem were made of silver. You think anybody was down there trying to dig it up with a fork or a spoon? No, I don't think so. Or a shovel? Mm-mm. Okay. Verse 28. And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. They're not taking charity. Verse 29. And a chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and an horse for 150. And so for all the kings of the Hittites and for the kings of Syria did they bring them out by their means. Wow, magnificent. I can only imagine. You know what? We don't know what heaven has. But this is earth. This is Solomon, a man, a mere mortal man. God blessed him with the riches of this earth. Think about what heaven's riches would be like. When we read Revelation, a sea of glass. Is there anything under there? I don't know. What is it going to look like? Like the song says, we can only imagine. And guess what? You can only imagine what you've already seen. If you haven't seen it, it's hard for it to come into your mind. Very difficult. What awaits us in heaven, God only knows. But it's going to be magnificent. This here, Solomon, is going to be paled in comparison to what God has for those who love him, trust him, and are waiting for his return. That's it for our reading for today. Not too long chapter today. End of 1 Kings chapter 10. Remember, thank you first of all for viewing, for listening. Read along with me whenever you can. And until then, keep listening, because faith comes when we hear God's word. Take care. Bye.